Good morning. I'm going to shift the conversation to talk about the subject of acceptance of AVs. What a fantastic place to be able to follow in behind Paul and Robin. And Camille, thank you for the introduction. Let's get going. So in the last decade, almost every product has been disrupted by digital. You know these products because you use them all the time. But along the road to acceptance, their change has been met with great fear. Their change has been met with a great necessity for change and regulation. We forget about it when it passes, but it's worth being reminded the kind of disruption that happens when new technology comes into our lives. So let's think about this when it comes to the subject of vehicular mobility. Big manufacturing has done a pretty terrible job of keeping pace with the change that's happening in all of the things that we've talked about before. Pricing structures need to be in place. The evolution of other kinds of shared mobility on the road has necessitated a change in big vehicles. But the change has not been there because the system that was set up to make these vehicles has not been able to flex easily. The way you make a scooter, like the Bird scooter sitting on stage with me, is very nimble in the way it can be changed, but in order to make a vehicle, it is not nimble. The robotics that surround the creation of this Ford truck that's on the slide are things that are difficult to reprogram and still leave us with roughly 5 to 7 years for the development of, say, a Tesla vehicle or a Nissan or other things like that. So let's talk about the imperative of autonomy and how to accept it. Introducing the concept of a digital vehicle manufacturer. Since the time of the internet, there has been an opportunity to make things better and faster. I remember sitting on stage with Tim Berners-Lee and thinking that it was the most impactful time of my life to be able to meet somebody who had been able to type "Hello World" into a terminal. And hello world indeed, because hardware manufacturers had no idea what was about to hit them. It took a little while for it to truly hit them in the face, but now it's happened. So what does a digital vehicle manufacturer mean? There's a thread, and it's a digital thread. When I founded the company that I run now, LM Industries, back in 2007, the idea of building community was just something in automakers' minds about how can I attract my customers better. In fact, even thinking of Salesforce as a CRM, as a customer relationship management tool, is inadequate. When we think about acceptance of these products, we're talking about community relationship management, a community data platform. And so when you think about drawing together these new concepts, we have put a global community together with direct digital manufacturing out of local factories in order to be able to make and upgrade the vehicles that will drive you in the now and in the future. Why do you need it? You need it for customization, but customization isn't so much about the way you look in it. It's more about responding to the technologies that are necessary to make all of these demands, pricing, equity, other things like that happen. You need it for choice and you need it for freedom. But this is why you as a rider need a digital vehicle manufacturer. But for a business, if you're going to respond to the imperatives of people, planet, and profit, you must have the flexibility that comes from being a digital vehicle manufacturer. So for us, putting the global community of ideas together with the local making and remanufacturing of vehicles was the imperative drawn together by digital vehicle manufacturing. It's not fantasy, it is future, but it's not future everywhere. As many of you have heard, the future is here, it's just not evenly distributed. So I'll give you a little view of what we're doing with one of our vehicles right now.
Taking their kid to school, hustling to the biggest meeting of their life, or on their way to catch up with a friend. We all have places to go. Vehicles are getting in our way. They're wasteful, unsustainable, and expensive. After 100 years, right now is the time to leverage technology and our brightest ideas to reimagine our ride. We at LM Industries have heard the calls for something better and are answering them with all in. 100% electric, connected, autonomous, and 3D printed. Right now, we are using digital manufacturing to go from idea to production faster and more safely than ever. We are using the power of local microfactories to do the work once ruled by mammoth factories. We are pushing the boundaries of autonomous technology in an infinitely customizable mobility solution. Right now, we are providing a safe way to travel, giving people back their time, and recreating how we'll arrive tomorrow. We are the future, reinventing the ride right now. LM Industries.
So it's not just about designing a product, it's shifting a mindset and sharing the equity. So I'm going to add to this little bird scooter right here, my other ride is an Ollie. And the reason why is because, as Robin talked about, it's no longer big metal boxes. These vehicles that we make, Ollie, are composites that are recyclable, and they're made to flex up and flex down according to the reason and the way in which you put them on the road. So I love this quote: ignore the world when you make your product, and the world will ignore your product. It's time for better products. If you're going to think about public acceptance of autonomy, it's not about the ride. It's about really owning your mobility and thinking about what you can do before you get in it, while you're in it, and when you arrive to make yourself more productive.
It was so amazing getting to drive on the first 3D printed self-driving bus. That was absolutely amazing.
So I have 4 children, and I ride scooters and I ride bikes all the time. And what I love is being informed by the next generation and thinking about the way that they think about consuming data and the way that they think about achieving what they do. They are not thinking about a job, they're thinking about the future of work. They're thinking about how to make money. They worry about how they will sustain themselves and their future families. And one of the things we need to respond to them is to make them mobile, but to make them appropriately mobile. So for us, local mobility is a big focus for Ollie right now. And in order to drive acceptance, we're not thinking about the highway and trying to solve all problems at the same time. We're thinking about the dense urban core. We're thinking about how to make your other ride an Ollie, and many other things. And we're starting as a digital vehicle manufacturer to do this. On a corporate campus, loading up an Ollie is a small way, or calling more to be able to get there and safely transport you in the rain, or give you the opportunity to be able to move more people and things, is one of the jobs for Ollie. In a town, taking kids to school is another thing that needs to happen, and we tend to manage where our children go, but we don't do it with all the technology that is around. And in many cultures today, it's actually thought of very well to be able to track people's movement. Some people see it as a nanny state. I see it as a necessity today in this environment. So with young children of my own, I would like to see the ability to be able to get them safely where they need to go, and then to be able to make sure that they can be brought back or taken another place without me or someone else having to get in a vehicle to go pick them up and take them to a different place. This future of school children, or young people who are the future of work and actually can be productive in society, is something we see for Ollie. Acceptance in a university by not being on the road in the university is important. Last week there was a study that was issued at UCLA's campus in Los Angeles. 11,000 rides are taken in 1 week on UCLA's campus, and those rides don't leave the boundaries of the campus. Shared rides in a vehicle, in Uber, in Lyft. Those vehicles are an environmental crisis. They are a congestion crisis, and they can be done better on university campuses, and our young people are demanding it. Smart cities are planning for this, but they need to understand a vehicle manufacturer can respond to their needs. Tech schools, bringing our roboticists and engineers to understand the human side of the usage of these things, also drives acceptance. Colleges, this is from last week at ASU Polytech, and being able to see people understand the future of robotics mobility drives acceptance. A seaside resort in Australia that uses Ollie right now is thinking about how to help people get there vacation in order in what they're doing. So what's happening for us in 2019 is we're in 7 markets with this level 5 digitally manufactured autonomous vehicle. And what I would say is that next up we'll be in 9 markets. We're going to Florida, we're coming to Germany, and we're continuing to work on driving acceptance of autonomous vehicles. This week we're starting a new challenge in our global community to help redefine the human-machine interface of this vehicle in the urban core. So if it's going to be flexible, it means that it can be upgraded as we see new technology in 2019 being able to come and drive that interface. So when you go online, you can see the things that we're developing. This is a hackathon from last week. 100 software developers coming and looking at an Ollie and thinking about, how do I want to pay for it in 2019? Not how do I want to pay for it in 2019 through 2025, because it's going to change every year. And you need to be able to change in order to be able to keep with acceptance and drive it. Thinking about the face of Ollie, you can see our first eyes on Ollie. Being able to communicate with people with intent. Sometimes it makes people fear that a robot should just be a toaster, but it doesn't have to be a toaster. It could be accepted because you're used to looking at the eyes of a bus driver, but when you cross the street and the bus driver isn't seeable because of a pillar that's in the way or because it's an autonomous vehicle, having the vehicle be more anthropomorphic to me is a positive change. And we're working on that, not by ourselves, but with the community of people to drive acceptance. So by this summer, the goal is to be #1 for us in global low-speed autonomy. Not because we're interested in world domination, but because we are interested in driving public acceptance. And in order to be #1, we got to do it with a community, not by ourselves. So I want to end with this statement, or this thought. We care about public acceptance of autonomy because we want to know that we are not ignoring the world when we do such things as making a product. When it comes to autonomous vehicles, in this room, there are so many views. I can see it in the conversations that I've had just this morning and in the eyes of everyone that is here watching this. One of the views that I think is so interesting is the way that people apply money at the challenge of public acceptance. This is the view from tech VCs, one of my favorite views. They think of Toyota and Detroit and other places as being the cookie on the top of an Oreo sandwich. And they think of the software that runs these vehicles as the sweet part that should be invested in, driven up in price, made useful for people. But customers think about the cookie, the whole thing, together. And that's a view that we need to keep in mind when we think about it. The pedestrian, the rider. We're not going to be buying vehicles in the future. Uber, Lyft, Didi, Get, Ola, they've shown us, Bird, that sharing the asset is a much better way to move forward. So signing on to Numo's principles or Robin's principles is the right thing to do. And thinking about how to be a rider and share mobility and share the cost of mobility, including insurance, including all of the things that come from our shared roads, is what this cookie means. So for us, our view is it's not about the software. I really reject Mark Andreessen's idea that software is eating the world. If we are going to change acceptance, it's software and hardware together to make a great Oreo cookie that you can munch on. So driving this with Ollie this year for us is about driving public acceptance. Halfway through the year, as a digital vehicle manufacturer, we change. And that is the future of what hardware manufacturers can do in order to be able to help drive the acceptance of AVs. And I hope you all will be able to enjoy the Oreo sandwich with us and have your ride be both an Ollie and a scooter. Thank you very much.